Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, community. Happy Thursday to all of us. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. Welcome to today's community event on this beautiful Thursday. As always, we're always thrilled to have you all here with us, this community events, as it not only gives us the opportunity to interact and to put the word out about our industry, but it also helps us to grow and just to be informed, educated together. Get our mission on track, understand what we are all about, what's our mission, what are our ambitions, what are the added value that we bring, not just to the industry, but our ecosystem as well, and how are we identifying the challenges within the industry and implementing those challenges as opportunities and as solutions into our ecosystem. So those that are new in the community, welcome. We are thrilled, very excited, happy having you here with us today. Those that are regularly with us, we are as always thrilled as well to see you here with us as well. Excuse my voice, I have a cold, but we'll go through it. So if you hear me coughing or so, I'll just proceed with it. So community, this is the second week of the year, and here we are again, still going strong. And as we see the markets trembling and being emotional and sentimental, it's beautiful for us to see how everything is unfolding perfectly, right? Since the very first week of this year, we've been dedicating 3 community events on just how to, what to expect during this year. We've discussed the various macroeconomic factors that are going to affect us. We've discussed about the interest rates that will be dropped, etc. We identified the missions and the goals of the central banks globally, and so on and so forth, right? So as the title gave it away, crypto markets uncertainties. That's the title of today. And markets don't like uncertainties, especially if they're blindsided, right? They always want to know what's coming. They can anticipate, they can front run, so on and so forth. But if you get hit and blindsided, that's what causes commotion such as today. But we'll go through every little event today. We'll clarify, shed some light, and so that we understand, we're on the same page, what's going on. These are the things we've been discussing for a very long time. So community, as always, thank you for your comments as I see them still coming in. What we're going to do is we're going to come full circle at the end and then go through your comments, and maybe you have feedbacks, questions. We'll go through all of that at the end. Let's first go and jump right into today's session. Before that, I encourage us to engage with our daily activity, which is tweeting. So if you have not retweeted yet, commented yet, let's ensure that we have a habit of doing so. So as we're going through today's session and you've not yet, I encourage everyone that has not yet, please let's engage with the tweets. Killer Whale Survivor and Bulrun, they're all out. We have a very, very strong presence on Twitter. That's a very great platform to be active on, especially us and as a community. It's very important because it has a large audience and it has a great reach as well. And of course, we're also very active here and consistently on YouTube as well, as we know. So with that said, community, let's jump right into today's topic. Let's get everything rolling ASAP, as there's quite a bit to cover today. So as always, I always like us to start with the market, so we have a broad, general understanding of what's going on. We see the markets, as you've been following, is in the red. We see how Bitcoin went literally within a few days from over 100,000. It's now down to 92,000. Ethereum as well is also being dragged in the mud. It's at 3,200 right now. And like we see, fear and greed index, actually right now it is on neutral at 49. We haven't seen this score in a very, very, very long time, right? It's been a while since we saw this. It's been months, the last time we saw such a low one. This just shows you how sentiment driven the economy is. And like we said, uncertainties are not welcome. The economy, the markets don't like to be blindsided. And literally, this is exactly what's happened. But let's walk us through all of this, right? Let's go through all of this together. So there's really not much else to say besides the low prices that we see for Bitcoin and the rest of the markets. But let's ask ourselves, what caused all of this? Why did this happen, right? Keep in mind the topic of today is crypto markets uncertainties, right? Also, as always, let's set the stage for today. The stage for today is also for us to understand that, remember how we discussed that there are two missions. There are two missions for 2025. And that is to strengthen the dollar and to strengthen the bond market, right? That's very important. So if we see that happening, if that's supposed to happen, we'll clearly understand why things are unfolding the way they are as we speak, right? So let's just keep that in mind as we are progressing. And also one thing we need to understand is that if the aim, the goal of central banks globally is to strengthen their fiat currency and to strengthen the bond market, why is the market so emotional then? Because when bond markets are, and the dollar, for example, in this specific case, are up, strong dollar weakens risk markets, right? So if this dollar goes up, risk markets goes down, and vice versa. They have an inverse relationship. But don't take my word for it. We'll go through all of this step by step. All you need to keep in mind is that 2025 is about strengthen dollar, strengthen the bond market. That's the takeaway, right? So let's understand what happened. What's really happened? What spooked the market? Why is the market so down? Why is it so emotional? First of all, let's look at the side effects of an emotional market, right? The side effects are very vital. Usually we see liquidations, and these are a lot. So roughly half a billion liquidations. It hit majority of that. Usually it's, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're the most, right? And then other altcoins as well, such as Solana and XRP. So, and who is being liquidated? Retailers, right? Retailers are the most that are being liquidated. What does liquidation mean? For those that are still not familiar with it, is like you using leverage. What is leverage? You're using debt. You're taking money that you don't have, right? Let's say you put down 100,000 and then you use leverage. Maybe sometimes people even go 5x, 10x. So meaning that your 100,000, if you 5x it, now you have a $500,000 that you can work with, right? And you can bet that the prices are going up or down, right? And people that are using debt and they're betting the prices going up or down, and then there's the markets are emotional like this, that usually get liquidated. This is nothing new. It happens literally every day. People get liquidated all the time, especially with Bitcoin having futures and spot options, right, in the options markets. That's how hedge funds and large institutions, big whales, are literally playing around with the market. And the market being so illiquid, it's so easy to move the markets and cause liquidations. So let's always keep that in mind. But one thing, let's go beyond the obvious. Let's really go beyond the obvious and look at really what caused liquidations. So what was the cause that made people panic so much? So of course, besides the positive numbers earlier this week, we saw positive numbers, employment numbers, the market numbers were good. And the market panicked because good numbers, strong economic numbers mean less interest rate cuts. So already for the 2025 cycle, we've seen that Jerome Powell had said that he's going to reduce the interest rate cuts from 4 to 2. But now with the strong markets numbers, economy numbers, the market is already speculating that, it's not going to even get to that 2. Probably it's just going to be 1. And that's what the market is pricing in right now, that there is probably just going to be 1 interest rate cut for 2025. Now, that's also something that caused and spooked the market. But the bigger thing here as well is also what the president-elect that is about to get into the office in the next 10 days, 11 days, depending on where you live in the world. But this is the bigger one now, community. Remember how President-elect Trump promised the reserve currency and Bitcoin reserve to use Bitcoin as a reserve, right? Treasury reserve asset. This is a shocker. This just happened today. The Department of Justice was cleared to sell 6.5 billion in Bitcoin, right? Which was seized from Silk Road. So the US authorities may soon liquidate the seized BTC, right? And they say that they want to prevent losses from market volatility, right? So volatility is a major concern. And if we see markets such as this, things happening, it doesn't really, they're actually just preying on what happens with liquidations. And this is what they say. So the promise that Donald Trump made that he was going to make Bitcoin reserve, this of course caused Bitcoin to just surge and go way beyond 100,000. Like we said in our last community event, let's always look at things critically, only because things are being promised on the campaign or things are being said, let's always verify them. Is it true? Let's fact check it. Does it make sense? Right? So this is a major news today, and it's a major setback for the Bitcoin community specifically, that instead of piling up more Bitcoin, buying more Bitcoin, implementing Bitcoin as your reserve strategy asset, now actually it's being sold, right? And let's look at it even further. Let's read more into it. So the US government, they have secured a final approval from the district court in California to do what? To liquidate crypto's largest ever federal seizure, right? So this was a long and complex 4-year legal battle, right? Over billions in Bitcoin, tied, like we said, with the Silk Road marketplace. So this is the judge. So this is the district judge that decided and said that gave Department of Justice green light to sell 6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? According to court documents. So far, we've not heard directly from Department of Justice. They've not yet made a statement. However, based on court documents and what's known so far, that also caused all this commotion on the market is, instead of everybody was anticipating, looking forward to a Bitcoin reserve strategy and wanting to be part of an asset, reserve asset within central banks and so on and so forth. And this, of course, is a slap in the face. And this is just bringing individuals that were delusional back to reality, and just to see things in perspective, right? And I don't want to look at things just the way it is, right? Let's always question things, and let's not just run with the majority community. This should also serve for us to understand that it's always good to question things critically, look at things rationally. And the first week of our community events, we dedicated to just explain, reason, rationalize why we thought that this was not going to happen. And this is a major statement, community. This is a big statement. If the Department of Justice, who actually are behind inventing the internet, they came up with the internet, and if Bitcoin is supposed to be the next technology, big tech, why would they do this? So this is a big statement, and the world is looking at every move that the US is doing, and the Department of Justice making this huge move to sell Bitcoin, while everybody was anticipating they were going to purchase, and not only purchase, but make Bitcoin a reserve strategy asset. This is a big sign, community. This is a big move, right? But let's not just rely on these two articles. Let's really get to the bottom of it. Let's understand why. Why Why did the US do that? And before the US, we saw how Japan and Russia also said that they were not going to do a Bitcoin reserve for themselves either. But why? Let's understand why, right? And this is the reason why. So the government has said cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin do not qualify as foreign exchange, and Japan's reserves, and does not align with Japan's reserves design. And now this is the reason why. Remember when we started this year, we said that there are two missions. There are two missions to be accomplished. You need to strengthen your local currency. This is across globally. Central banks want to strengthen and stabilize their currency. That's the first thing. And secondly, the bond market. So every central bank wants to strengthen their currency and their bond markets. That's the reason why. That's what Japan, Russia, and even now today, we see US. This is their rationale, right? They want to do that. If it's not strengthening their local fiat currency, and if it's not strengthening the bond market, they don't want nothing to do with it, right? And if you don't prioritize security and liquidity, and if the volatility of the cryptocurrencies just don't align with the reserve strategy, right? And furthermore, we also saw that Jerome Powell already recently said that the Feds are not allowed, right, to own Bitcoin. However, Donald Trump, he wants the US to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And then, like we said, like we saw today, it's obviously not happening, right? Why would the Department of Justice be cleared by the court, district court, to sell, right? So this is community, what's happening right now. This is what's spooking the markets. Everybody's now completely lost, right? Because everybody was anticipating that Bitcoin reserve, go get it, and so on and so forth, right? So this is why we always encourage the community: don't go with don't have a hard mentality, meaning that you see, these people are talking about this, running about this, saying this, let me run with it. Always take a deep breath and look at things, because usually the masses are usually mostly wrong, right? If things seem to be like everybody's talking about it, there's something fishy, right? Like we said, this is how governments move. They point at something else, make a lot of noise for everybody to be distracted and run for it. Meanwhile, they're doing things behind our backs and are making different moves. And what we need to ask ourselves now, why? Why is all of this happening? And why should we focus so much on liquidity and avoid volatility if we want because these things need to align with the reserve strategies, right? You need to stabilize your fiat currency and the bond market. Why is it so important? Let's ask ourselves. Let's not just take this for the face value. Why do we need, with we, I mean central banks globally, why do central banks need strong currency, stable? Why do they want to strengthen the assets and the fiat? And why do they want a strong bond market, right? It's like we said, a strong bond market means a strong dollar in this case. And this is important because the debt crisis that is happening right now. If you want to get hold of your debt crisis, you need a strong dollar and a strong bond market, because this is what's needed in order to get ahead of this spiral that we're facing with the entire debt crisis that we're facing in the industry, right? It's all about the debt crisis. So if you can use this technology to strengthen the dollar and the bond market, this is what's needed, right? But community, don't take my word for it, right? Who am I? I'm just a regular person, a community member of the Bulrun ecosystem. What do I know? These are just my opinions, right? Don't take my word for it. Let's look at somebody else that is more experienced, right, than I am. His name happens to be Larry Fink. He's the CEO of the largest asset manager, right? BlackRock. Let's see what he thinks about debt, right? Let's look at what he thinks. What does he say about debt? Let's listen in, community.
To what extent has the success of the capital markets come specifically because we've taken more debt on the public balance sheet? We've shifted debt from private balance sheets to public balance sheets.
No question. Let's just use a statistic. And I think that when I talk about this statistic, I get frightened. In the year 2000, the US deficit was $8 trillion. Today it's $34 trillion. So 23 years later, we increased our deficit by $26 trillion. So for the first 40 years, we increased our deficit to 8 trillion. And in the last 23 years, we increased it by $26 trillion. I think that speaks volumes of what's happening in our country today. The problem with these type of deficits is, and now and I believe higher interest rates for longer, the cost of financing our deficits are going to erode more and more of our disposable income as a country. And I do believe we're getting to a point where our public debt is going to start crowding out private capital, and we're going to have structurally higher interest rates.
What can the private sector do to trigger?
So here we hear it from the expert himself, right? We hear, and this is not just the US, these are central banks across the globe experiencing the same issue. Debt crisis is literally spiraling out of control. And I always like to share some data, right? Because we are visual people. So let's look at some data. I know there's so much numbers here, but let's just first focus on the top left, right? US national debt. On the top left, we see the US is over $36 trillion in national debt, right? This is what Larry Fink was talking about. This is a major crisis. What he was talking about is how it took the US 230 years just to hit $8 trillion. $8 trillion in debt, right? National debt. But the last 26 years, the last few years, it took them only 20 something years to hit 26 trillion in debt, right? So this is something that is getting out of control, and this has to do with the interest rates, right? If the interest rates are high, this means that, and this is the number we're looking at. Look at the bottom left, right here, right? The numbers that we're looking at is right here, largest debt items. You see Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, defense, and then right here, interest rate debt. So right now, it's over $1 trillion just for interest rates, to pay back interest, just the interest alone. So this is why when interest rates are high, it increases the debt interest rates. Also, you have to pay, the US has to pay even more, right? With increasing interest. So this is why it's in the best interest of the US to have not such a volatile interest fluctuation, but it's supposed to be even, right? And this is also the reason why having a strong bond market and having a strong US dollar is so important, especially a stable dollar, right? It's very important. So you don't have to keep messing around with the interest rates, which will affect the interest debt payments and all other payments that need to be covered, right? So this is all good, but let's understand why bond market. What really is bond market? Why is bond market so special? Why is it so important? It's because bond markets globally play a major role. And I want us to just understand this. So let's look at the largest bond markets in the world, right? And unsurprisingly, as we will see here, US obviously is the largest, right? The US has the largest bond market in the world. It's over 51 trillion, just the bond market alone, right? And another thing I want us to highlight, but this is the second part of it, is how commercial banks, they're amongst the top buyers of US government debt. And this goes hand in hand with how our current monetary system works. You see how it's important to understand all of this community. It's important to understand all of these things, how bonds work, how our monetary system work, how interest rates work, so that we have an understanding, better understanding, and are not going to panic and be so overly emotional like the market is right now, right? Because we'll understand that, okay, the goal is, let's go to the goal. The goal here is to strengthen and stabilize our fiat currency. And the second goal is to strengthen the bond market. But if this happens, if you strengthen the dollar, you're actually weakening risk assets, right? Such as Bitcoin and other risk assets, right? That's natural. That's exactly what happens. If you strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market, it will weaken Bitcoin and everything else in the risk assets. That's normal. So if you have such an understanding, if you understand how markets work, why would you panic? Why would you be so, so panicked and emotional in the market? Because that's natural. That's something that happens naturally, right? And if you see, this is why it's important to be on top of the news, because if you see large economies such as Japan, Russia, US telling you that we don't want this and this reserve as a Bitcoin as a reserve currency, and they're telling you why, right? Because we want an asset that is literally stabilizing our fiat currency and is strengthening the bond. So with that in mind, let's go back and understand the importance of bond markets, right? Let's just look at it here. And keep in mind, this is an article not from some random freelancer. This is the World Economic Forum. So if World Economic Forum puts out an article, you better read it, because they're literally laying out their agenda. So we have to be on top of all of this. So they're literally telling you that bond markets are very important and we need them. So this chart is beautiful. It shows you how the US is literally having the largest, you see here in blue, they have 51 trillion in bond, and then China is the second largest with literally less than half, 2.5 times less at roughly 21 trillion, which is the second largest economy. What I want us to take away here is that the global market, and this is back 2 years ago, the global bond market is 133 trillion, with 51 trillion being from the US alone. Another thing I want us to understand here, the takeaway here, is that one of the largest capital markets, which is the debt market, right? It has grown 7 times in the last 40 years. So it's been growing steadily, 7x. It did a 7x, this market did, right? And keep in mind, it did it in the traditional markets. It did it without latest technology, without blockchain technology, without new upgraded infrastructures. So you can imagine how much faster it's even going to grow for the next 5 years, built on blockchain, because this is exactly the agenda of World Economic Forum. But don't take my word for it. We'll take it step by step. And the second largest market, which is China, as we see here, they've grown steadily by 13% annually. And like we said, 51 trillion US is the largest market, and government bonds made up majority of the debt market, right? So debt market is the bond market, treasuries. So if you want to strengthen, whenever you hear the goal is to strengthen the bond market, always think that, okay, this is one of the largest asset markets, first of all, and it's to stabilize economies, stabilize nations, right? A strong bond market is desired, right? It strengthens also their local fiat currency. And I want us to quickly look at this chart. This says a lot. So the number one, like we saw, is the US. It has 51 trillion, right? And if you look at here on the right, you see it has 39% share of the total bond market. So in terms of percentage, it's leading by, it has 39% of the entire bond market is US. This just shows you how significant US has such a significant hold on the bond market. So this is why when you see the US do things like this, let's go back to this. Like the Department of Justice cleared to sell Bitcoin. This has a major implication on the world. It's not something that you should just look at lightly. So whenever US makes moves like that, it affects the entire bond market as well, because look at how much they're dominating. So if you look at from the second, China is the second and Brazil is the 10th. It takes all of them combined to come close and match the US market share. So even if you take from the second place all the way down to Italy, the 8th place, they still have less market share than the US. So if you combine China, Japan, France, UK, Canada, Germany, and Italy, combine all of their debt markets, and it still doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to US's, right? This just shows you implications and why the world is always looking at what US is doing first before they make a move, because that's how much more influential the US is. So if the US sneezes, everybody else catches a cold. So the moves US make have significant impact on the rest of the world, simply because the most important market, one of the most largest markets, which is the bond market, is literally dominated by the US. That's the reason why, right? So if the US goal is to strengthen the bond market and to strengthen the dollar, like we see here, right? Strengthen the dollar and strengthen the bond market. Now you see why it's so important. It's so important that these tokenization rules and stablecoin rules are being passed through. It's very important for that. So another thing that I want us to see here is this. And this is where we get to later on. But as of now, remember how I said that it's correlating, right? It's inverse. They have like an inverse relation. There's an inverse relation between these. And I want us to really understand this, because this is major. This is good for us to understand. Whenever the bond market is strong, is stable, when the US dollar is stable, it has an inverse relation. This means that the market, the rest of the market is going to collapse, right? Especially the Bitcoin and the rest. So this is why you see the markets behaving like this. So, but again, don't take my word for it. I'd like you to quickly listen to these short clips. Just maybe like, we'll just listen to the first minute. And it's well explained here as well on how it works, right? How raising interest rates for the bond market affects risk assets such as Bitcoin. Right, let's quickly tune in.
The stock market is facing trouble from higher interest rates. So here's what you need to know, because I'm guessing that you probably saw this in the you're seeing this in the headlines, and I want to explain to you why and what's going on. So first, I'll start with this. Interest rates on government debt is so important because it causes a chain reaction. So basically, if interest rates on government debt goes up, you know what's going to happen? Interest rates on mortgages, on auto loans, student loan debt, credit card debt, business loans, those interest rates will go up too. If interest rates on government debt go down, then naturally, those interest rates will go down as well. Okay, but today, we're just going to focus on the stock market. Okay, so let's just start with this. And I'm going to give you an oversimplified example just to make the point crystal clear. So let's just say that interest rates on government debt is 0%. So in other words, if you buy a treasury bond, a government treasury bond, they're going to pay you 0% interest. In that case, it's going to be the same thing with the banks. You know, the banks will be offering you a 0% interest rate on your savings accounts or a CD, okay? All right, so I want you to think about that as an investor. If government bonds are offering 0% and the banks are offering you 0%, then the stock market becomes much more attractive to you. Because do you want to buy government bonds that will pay you 0%? Or do you want to leave your money in the bank and they're going to pay you no interest? No, of course not, right? So you would be more inclined to invest your money into the stock market and try to make more than 0%. So that makes sense, right? So naturally, lower interest rates are good for the stock market. All right, now let's look at the flip side. So let's just say, and we're going to use an exaggerated example again. So let's just say that we're in a very high interest rate environment. Treasury bonds are offering you 20%. Banks, we're talking about savings accounts and CDs, they're offering you a 20% interest rate. So in that situation, as an investor, just think about it. Why would you risk money or more money in the stock market when you could put money in a CD? You could earn 20% risk-free. So in a higher interest rate environment, you'd be more inclined to dial back your money in the stock market, or just basically not even invest in the stock market if interest rates are very high. So higher interest rates are bad for the stock markets.
All right, community, you had it yourself. And this is exactly what we're trying to say. This is how the inverse relationship works. So if you have a situation where interest rates are high, you realize that it's affecting people rather invest in treasuries, in the bond market, right? They rather invest in the bond market because, first of all, it's looked at as the most secure. It's looked at as the most secure asset. It's backed by the country, reserve global currency, the US, right? And it's also secure because it gives you a steady fixed income as well. And the country, US, can't default. All they need to do is just print more of it, and you're guaranteed that you're going to receive your interest, right? So this is why right now the markets are favorable, community, right? The markets are ripe right now. So it's very favorable for the bond market. And this is the goal in the first place, right? The goal in the first place was to strengthen the bond market, right? And strengthen the fiat. So why are we discussing all of this? Because this is good for what's coming, the stablecoin regulations, right? Because stablecoins are just a digital form of the fiat, of the US dollar. So this digital form of the US dollar is going to benefit from all of this, obviously, as well. And tokenized real world assets, which are treasury bills and the dollar, digital dollar, are going to strengthen the bond market as well, right? And this is perfect situation, especially for Ethereum. Why? Because all of that is on Ethereum. The whole real world assets, all stable coins, majority of it is on Ethereum. So as the world is panicking, as the markets are crumbling, we understand that what's happening right now, and this is issued by the World Economic Forum, right, is that they want to strengthen. They want a strong fiat and a strong bond market. Why? Because the bond market, like we saw, plays a major role. And this is, like we heard even Larry say, this will strengthen the crisis that we're in right now. And this is the debt crisis, mainly the US debt crisis situation. So if you have a strong dollar, stable dollar, strong bond market, it helps a lot, especially in terms of interest rates with the payments, right? And it also very important to have this. And it's inverse. So if you rather not invest in risk assets, this is why we see Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market collapsing, and people are just moving over and looking how they can put their money in more secure, more safe investments such as the treasury bills, the bond market, right? Now, let's continue with this. Now that we understand that, how important are tokenized assets? How important is tokenization in general? And tokenization goes beyond just stablecoin and treasury bills, right? And one of the examples here is Damak is one of the largest property developers in the Arab Emirates, right? And they've partnered now with a blockchain called Mantra, and they signed a $1 million deal. And this is the reason why. They want to tokenize literally the Middle East, right? And what's so impressive about this is that this is happening as we speak. This is all part of the agenda. So tokenized real world asset is not just something that is a fade, that is just going to come and go. And this is major. And let's understand what Damak does. Damak, first of all, Mantra is a blockchain, right? Built specifically for tokenized real world assets, right? And they, the AMA group, look at what they're into. They're a investment conglomerate. First of all, like they have various different industries that they have their investments in, and the portfolio are real estate development, like we said, data centers, and hospitality, like hotels and so on and so forth, right? And they're going to use the technology to tokenize the existing and extensive asset portfolio. So this is something that is huge. So why am I showing you this? It's just for us to see the scale of all of this. Yes, we've been focusing on stable coins and bond markets, which are great. However, now we're starting to see moves are being made into the real world. Like we said, real estate, data center, hospitality. These are all moves that are being done. And with the regulation getting more clarity, and especially the UAE being very pro crypto already, we'll see a lot of businesses also in terms of tokenization that will go towards more real world assets as well. Now, all of this is great, but let's look at something else here as well. All of this cannot be done without infrastructure, right? And let's quickly look at that. Remember the goal for World Economic Forum? To get all of this done, community, there'll be one important thing to do, right? And it will require a new infrastructure backbone, right? We discussed this multiple times, and this will be required. And this is not a request done by some local politician. This is from the World Economic Forum, right? They set the agenda, they set the pace, and the world has to dance according to their rhythm, right? So everybody's shuffling and moving and trying to make things happen. So this is why you see infrastructures are being put together, right? And so this is why, let's go here. You see Ethereum. Ethereum now is available on Amazon, right? Managed blockchain. What is Amazon all about? They're all about, they have like AWS, like Amazon Web Services. And now the users can now have the ability to use Ethereum nodes as services, like we are right now. We don't have our own nodes. We need nodes to run our staking platform. But because we don't have data center and we're not running our own nodes, we're using cloud service from cloud computing companies such as Amazon for us to be able to run our staking platform. So they've been doing this already, right? So you can use their services specifically for Ethereum nodes, and you can connect directly to the blockchain mainnet and other test nets as well. So why am I showing you this, community? It's because we need to understand that the technology giant Amazon just announced general availability of Ethereum on its managed blockchain, right? Why am I showing you this? Because this is all under the agenda. This is what's required. So we see large institutions, large cloud computing service providers such as Amazon, they're already working hard to build the infrastructure required for all this to take place, to strengthen the bond market, strengthen the dollar. So again, according to Amazon Web Services, AWS users now have the ability to provision Ethereum nodes, like we said, and they can connect to the blockchain's testnet and the mainnet as well. And also, this is it. The program claims to offer secure access to network with standard open source Ethereum APIs. So these are, for example, if we use like Uniswap and so on, you see the interface. All of these they're using also to power the exchange or the staking platforms. We all need these services. There's no other way around it, right? All of these are syncing to the Ethereum blockchain. So what does it do? What does the AMB do? It monitors the node's health, right? It replaces unhealthy nodes, and it automates Ethereum software upgrades. It improves availability of customers and Ethereum infrastructure. Does this sound familiar? They're all about building the infrastructure, setting it, putting it together. Now it goes even further. In addition to DeFi, so DeFi is the core reason why they're doing this. But in addition to it, right, DeFi applications, customers also can build analytical products such as smart contracts, monitoring tools, right? Does all of this sound familiar? Let's remind ourselves, why is Amazon working so hard on building infrastructures on Ethereum and doing all these fancy things like monitoring the health of Ethereum, replace unhealthy, automate Ethereum software upgrades, improve the availability to build Ethereum infrastructure? Why are they doing all of this? And especially, why are they focusing so much on DeFi, smart contracts? Why are they doing this? And also, they've been doing this since April 2019, so 5 years already. They've been doing this for 5 years. It's nothing new, right? So don't take my word for it. We all know this article by now, right? So Amazon's connection to crypto isn't new. Indeed, it's not new. They've been doing this for over 5 years now, right? And the company previously purchased, they already bought it, blockchain-related domain names. We've discussed this so many times, like Amazon Ethereum.org. Does this now make sense? Does it now relate? So we see what's happening here. The World Economic Forum is setting the tone, telling them what we need, telling them what's required, giving the tone, right? Central banks are also chipping in, telling us what they need, right? They need that we stabilize the US dollar and the bond market. We looked at the reason why. Larry told us why, right? We looked at Larry, and Larry just told you how the US crisis, the debt crisis, is terrible right now. It needs to be put in check, right? We need to control it. If we don't, the dollar is literally going to zero, because we can't continue just printing without having some sort of a system that will stabilize the bond market and stabilize the US dollar. And this is why it's so important. And at the World Economic Forum, they came together and discussed that in order to get all of this done, in order to find a solution, right, to everything, we need to tokenize things. Don't take my word for it. Don't even take my word for it. This is Securitize. Securitize is the largest tokenization platform. And they focus heavily on tokenizing assets, and they've partnered with BlackRock, right? We know this already, to develop BUIDL. What is BUIDL? BUIDL is the liquidity fund, right, for the tokenized assets, which is stablecoin and the bond market, debt, US treasuries. So they are doing two in one. They're strengthening the dollar with BUIDL fund, and they're also strengthening the bond market with this. And they're using Securitize in partnership to strengthen this. Now, why did I want to show you this article? Because this is the latest progression of their digital asset strategy. This is a strategy. They're not just doing things blindly and just, oh, let's see what sticks. They're doing things according to plan, according to the World Economic Forum assignment, according to what they discussed behind closed doors. This is a strategy. There is a reason why they do this. And they're even telling us why they're doing this. Because they want to focus on developing solutions in the digital asset space that help solve real problems for their clients. Not for retailers, for their clients, right? But nonetheless, there's a strategy, solution for the digital assets to solve real problems. Does all of this sound familiar? If your ecosystem is not developed to solve real challenges in the space and to add value to your community, then why are you in the space in the first place? So this is exactly what's happening, right? This is what's happening, community. And now, we saw how Amazon has secured and purchased a domain name and so on and so forth, how they're already working on building infrastructures. They already have the Ethereum infrastructure going since 5 years already. But their competitor, which is actually the third largest cloud computing service provider, they're not far behind either. they're actually investing 3 billion into AI and cloud expansion, cloud computing service. They're also doing exactly that. Why are they doing this? Let's keep in mind what the strategy is, right? What did the World Economic Forum say? To make all of these happen, they say they want to solve solution, right? Problems. What are the problems? First of all, smart contracts, right? Automation processes. They want to shorten settlement cycles, improve liquidity. These are all challenges. These are all problems that they're solving. And then also they want to bring market efficiency, lower systemic risks. They also want to address the demand for 24/7 operations. All of these things, community, will require a new infrastructural backbone. This is the reason why we see all these institutions working together. They work together. And don't take my word for it. They're even telling us industry collaboration is crucial to mobilize tokenized assets. Come on, everything is right in front of us. They're working together as an industry. Everybody's chipping in, doing what they're best, they know best in doing, and they collaborate, work together to make this happen, right? And this is exactly happening right in front of our faces, community. So one thing that I really want us to also look at now is, let's continue looking at what they're doing. So Microsoft is investing over 3 billion in AI and cloud expansion infrastructure, right? So they want to not just invest, but they also want to include training of 10 million individuals by 2030 to support AI startups. Now look at what they're also doing. So American tech giant Microsoft, they plan to invest 3 billion to expand what? It's cloud computing. Surprise. Cloud computing plays a major role. And keep in mind, Microsoft just rejected Michael Saylor's PowerPoint presentation, right? He wanted them to get into Bitcoin as a result. They kindly declined. They rather spent their money in expanding cloud computing, building infrastructure. They're sticking to the program. This is what they're supposed to do. And also not just cloud computing, because artificial intelligence needs this as well. And where better to go than in a very large economy, up and coming economy that is really picking up pace. So this is very important for us to understand that it, not just Amazon, and we saw Google is also part of the advisory board with Securitize, but now also Microsoft. So all three of them are already heavily engaged in expansion of the cloud computing, cloud services, like we saw, right? So this is also what I wanted to share with your community. Now, let's understand one thing here. There's one thing that I want us to really understand here. Hong Kong launches initiative to help banks with DLT, means a digital ledger technology, also known as the blockchain technology adoption, right? So Hong Kong they already launched, and this is not some random company that did this. This is literally the SEC, US Security and Exchange Commission equivalent of Hong Kong. So the initiative will initially focus on tokenized deposits. Community, I want us to really get this. I really want us to understand this. They want to focus on tokenized deposits. And like we say, this is not some random up-and-coming company. This is the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. This is the Hong Kong equivalent of Security and Exchange Commission, the SEC of the US. They themselves are having an initiative to assist banks in adopting distributed ledger technology. I mean, this is mind-boggling. Imagine the US Security and Exchange Commission's launching an initiative for tokenized assets. This would be amazing, right? So this is exactly what's happening. Now, well, Steve, this is all nice, but what are you trying to say? Why is it so important for banks to be involved in digital ledger technology? Why is that so important? Let's read even more. So the Hong Kong Central Bank, keep in mind, this is the central bank itself. They announced that they launched of its supervisory incubator of distributed ledger technology. This will help this aims to help banks safely implement distributed ledger technology into their operations and maximize the benefits. Well, let's take a step back. Let's understand, why are they doing this? Why is this so important? To really understand this, guess what? We have to go back to the World Economic Forum and to understand and appreciate that, right? So let's see what the World Economic Forum, what did they dictate? What agenda do they have? Because banks, they are the major buyers of the bond markets. Does it make sense now? Remember what the strategy is: strengthen the bond market, strengthen the dollar. So of course, they're introducing their central banks and commercial banks to the blockchain technology, because it will help with the bond market. We realize that that's the strategy for the World Economic Forum. So this is why Hong Kong moved on. The US, the SEC equivalent, the Monetary Authority of Hong Kong, and which is the central bank, right? They came together. They have an initiative. They want to help banks to adopt the blockchain technology. Why? Because they are the major buyer of the bond markets, right? So like we see here, central banks around the world, not just in the US, we saw Hong Kong and everybody else, and commercial banks, they are the key players in the bond market. And this is how our monetary system works. The way liquidity is being rushed into the economy is through central banks and commercial banks. So if they adopt the digital ledger technology, that will help the local currency and they will help the bond markets. So everything is going according to plan. So why are people panicking? Because if you strengthen the bond market, you strengthen the dollar, of course, Bitcoin and other risk assets are going to crumble. It's just in the nature of things. That's how it works, right? So in fact, commercial banks are among the top 3 buyers of US government debts, right? So this is, again, in the agenda of the World Economic Forum. And why are they doing this? It's because of liquidity, right? Liquidity and global assets. They want assets globally. They want global liquidity assets. And these often include US treasuries, which are highly liquid. And this is exactly what's happening. And who has the most liquid and largest liquidity fund? Let's look at this. It's BUIDL, like we know, right? And now we understand why BlackRock is eyeing a derivatives market, right? It's because with BUIDL, which is supporting to strengthen the dollar and the bond market, it's going to be used as collateral, right? And who else uses collateral, community? Who else is using collateral? Is, like we said, the banks, central banks. The banks are using, will use these tokenized assets as collateral. So it's a win-win for everyone. The central banks, the commercial banks can lend out money and provide liquidity to the markets as they're adopting the blockchain technology. Do we see where this is heading? So it won't matter whether the interest rates are cut or not. It's irrelevant. As long as central banks, commercial banks adopt the digital ledger technology, and as long as liquidity funds such as BUIDL are accepting or are using these tokenized assets, are using BUIDL to provide liquidity for the tokenized assets, which then will be in turn used as collateral by the likes of JP Morgan. They already have a network built within Ethereum to facilitate this tokenized assets as collateral for the derivatives market, right? And this is, don't take my word for it right now. It's this is exactly what's already been happening, right? And they're using this, even hedge funds, right, are using BUIDL as collateral. And this is something that is very, very impressive. And we need to understand this. And just to show you how large the derivatives market is, in 1 month alone, the derivatives market, crypto derivatives market, moved nearly 3.5 trillion just in 1 month alone. Just in 1 month. This is not even, we saw how the whole crypto market is 3 trillion. So in 1 month alone, crypto derivatives market moved 3.5 trillion in 1 month. And it took crypto industry 16 years to get to where they are today. So this just shows you how large the derivatives market is and how important it is also. And in order to strengthen the derivatives market, you have to have a strong bond market, and you have to have a strong US dollar, right? So you might ask yourself, well, Steve, this is all nice now, and we get the idea, but why are we discussing this? It's because we understand that, number one, there are 3 major focuses for 2025, right? And the number one focus is the rise of stablecoins. And if we ask ourselves why, now we know why. Because the aim is to strengthen the dollar. How do you strengthen the dollar? Implement regulations, bring clarity, so that institutions, banks mainly, central banks, commercial banks, financial institutions can interact with the digital assets, right? And in turn, that will strengthen, like we saw here. Let's go back here. In turn, that will strengthen and stabilize the fiat currency, and it will also strengthen the bond market. So just by bringing clarity in terms of stablecoin regulations and in terms of real world assets, that alone is going to fulfill the agenda of the World Economic Forum, which is to bring stability to the dollar using stablecoins and also real world assets. And to enable that, we need clarity in terms of regulation. Right? So this is why all of these is happening. And we saw large economies already said no, actually said Bitcoin does not qualify as foreign exchange. And they also said why, right? Because it doesn't support stability of their local currency, and it doesn't support the strengthening their bond markets, right? So it's not in the agenda of the World Economic Forum. So with that said, community, also I'd like us to look at something here. As far as today, the real world asset leader right now, like we saw before, is Ethereum. They're the number one by far. They're the number one with over 4 billion assets, right? And they're leading by 77%, like you see here. It's 77%, almost 78%. So the second one is 5%. Can you imagine that? The second largest is Stellar blockchain. So Ethereum is literally single-handedly running stablecoins, real-world assets. And why is this so significant, community? Why is this so significant? Let's come back here. This is so significant because the World Economic Forum agenda, right, is smart contracts, automated processes, shortened settlement cycles, improved liquidity, demand for 24/7 operations, like we said, infrastructure backbone. And then, how do we do that? By using distributed ledger technology. For what? For the collateral management. Boom. Really, there's nothing more to add after that. It's all about the collateral management, like we said. And if we come here, we see that this is why the BIDL token was developed by BlackRock in working together with Securitize. It's because they want to, the end game is the derivatives market, and with the BIDL token as collateral. This is exactly the purpose. This is the aim. This is the end game. And all of this is taking place on Ethereum. This is what's significant. This tells us that World Economic Forum's agenda and plan is taking place on Ethereum, and they're dominating already by over 77%. So there is no other blockchain anywhere close. Look at the Ethereum killer, so it's on the 4th place with 2%. Arbitrum, Avalanche, Aptos, even Base is not even up to 1%. So Ethereum has no competition in terms of what's important to stabilize the dollar and stabilize the bond market. It has no competition. It's literally dominating that area already. And it's doing this before regulations are even in place. So imagine if there's more clarity, more regulation, then we are going to see something like we've not seen before, right? And this is what we're going to see. This is the second part. We're going to see a surge in on-chain startups and innovation. This is what we're going to see. And especially with the more crypto-friendly US regime, we're going to see a lot of venture capitalists pouring money, right, onto the blockchain, right? And this is the reason why it's so important for us not to panic when we see things like the market dropping like this, because now we understand why, right? Everything is just going according to the plan, community. The World Economic Forum set the pace. We need to strengthen the bond market. We need to strengthen the dollar. And to do that, we need to use smart contracts, right? Let's go back here. Let's walk us through. Let's close out like this. So in order to have a strong dollar, strong bond market, we need smart contracts, right? And these smart contracts, why do we need them? Because they automate processes. We don't need no humans, no middlemen, no institutions in between. No, they're automated processes, smart contracts, right? Where is this taking place? Okay, it's taking place right here. It's taking place on Ethereum, and it's already dominating by 77%. So how is all this plan going to play out? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to require an infrastructural backbone. We saw Amazon already purchased and secured the domain name Amazon Ethereum. We saw Microsoft investing $3 billion in India, expanding their cloud computing services. We saw Google already with Securitize. They're one of the advisors for Securitize, like we saw. And so that's taken care of. So what's also taken care of? Collateral management. How is that taken care of? By the BUIDL token through BlackRock, right? BlackRock eyes crypto derivatives market. It's a $1 quadrillion market. It's using BUIDL as collateral for the derivatives market. So all of this plan that is coming out from the World Economic Forum, they are even lining out everything right in front of our faces, telling us where they're going to do it on Ethereum using smart contracts and automated processes. Why are they doing it? To shorten settlement times, to improve liquidity, and for what? For collateral management. What will we need? We'll require a new infrastructural backbone. Done. So to strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market, all of this needs to take place. And it's not some random individual saying this. This is discussed behind closed doors. This is the agenda. Stick with the program, right? Everything else that comes that is not according to the program will be rejected. It's going to be rejected. We don't want it. It's not part of the plan, right? Stick with the program. Everything that is not part of the program, boom, it's going to be sold. It's going to be taken out. It's not going to be part of it, right? And this is what we need to understand, community. So let's not get carried away by all this noise and all this distraction, but let's stay focused on what's coming ahead of us, community. Yes, the market is bleeding, but it's bleeding for a reason. It's because everybody's sticking to the program, the World Economic Forum. Strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market. If a strong dollar weakens the bond market. I mean, a strong dollar weakens Bitcoin. And now you might ask yourself, well, if it weakens Bitcoin, would it not weaken Ethereum? I'm glad you asked, because community, let's look at this. I want us to understand one thing. Ethereum is 2-in-1. It's a technology, not just an asset. If a strong dollar weakens risk assets, yes. However, Ethereum being a technology, it doesn't affect it. I want us to understand that. Every risk asset is affected by a strong dollar. But because Ethereum is not just an asset, but it's actually also technology that is being built upon. What is being built upon? What 77% of the market share is being built on Ethereum? What? Real world assets. What are under the umbrella of real world assets? Digital dollar and the bond market and the entire derivatives market that is being used as collateral, that is being used, the whole tokenization market, which is digitalized, which tokenized for the derivatives market. All of that is taking place on the technology known as Ethereum, or the way the World Economic Forum calls it, smart contracts, that is automating all processes. So it will not affect Ethereum because Ethereum is being built upon. It's the technology. It's not just a store of value. It's not just a digital gold. It's not a risk asset. Yes, it is an asset, but what makes it special, and this is what this chart here is showing us, it is a technology that the entire real world asset industry is being built upon, and it's already dominating by over 77%. This is the reason why once regulations are through, while Bitcoin and the rest is bleeding, 77% of the market share is already with Ethereum. The entire real world assets, tokenization, stable coins, all of that is being built on Ethereum because it's a technology on top of being an asset. So let's make that distinction. If you're not a tech, this is where this 2025 will be the year where fundamentals and technology is really being used, and no more hypes and all these just for the mere hypes, right? But fundamentals will play a major role. So as usual, we have to close out the session. And this is how I want us to close out. I want us to close out understanding how does that relate to our ecosystem? All of this that we've said so far, how does that relate to us? How does that affect us? It's because the 4 challenges in the industry community. What are the 4 challenges in the industry? We've always discussed these challenges. If you can address these 4 challenges in the industry as an ecosystem, you'll be best positioned to make the most out of all of this that we've discussed that is coming. We know it's on Ethereum. We know it's on the agenda of the World Economic Forum. We know that Ethereum is dominating the real world assets, tokenizations, stable coins, all of that by over 77%. So we're already on the right blockchain. Secondly, that's not enough. There's 2 things that we need to have to make DeFi work. The first is why we're doing this session in the first place. It's the reason why we're doing these community events in the first place. This is to have an informed and educated and mission-driven community. That's the most important. However, that's not enough. Now we need a platform, right? We need a platform that is addressing challenges. Which are the 4 challenges that you need to address? Lack of liquidity, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, and inefficient use of volume. If you can address these 4 challenges, which we are, liquidity, we are retaining it with every volume, with every trade, buy and sell. Not only through trading though, we are also doing that by staking. 10% of the supply is being staked. For what? To keep doing buybacks and restaking. That's exactly what it does. Why do we do this? Because it enables and it brings stability by buying back and staking more. This also provides or lays emphasis on adding more liquidity and bringing in volume, right? But besides this, we also have our NFT boosters. You need these boosters to earn beyond your 70%. If you don't have these boosters, you only get 70% of your USDC distributions, right? So you need these boosters to boost your staking distributions to 100%. And this enables Bulrun to build a sustainable and healthy liquidity. So these are the ways it's done. And also the community themselves, you can use your staking distributions and compound them if you so desire, and you also will contribute to adding liquidity. So we have 4 various mechanisms just to retain liquidity alone, in very sustainably, very organically, right? Second is inflation. We are having a system that we started with 1 million in supply, right? And now actually we've banned and removed a total of over 35,000, removed them from total supply. You see our max total supply here. We started at 1 million tokens. Now we are down to 964,000. So we've banned more than 35,000 and removed them from total supply. So the supply shrinks. Which asset do you know that the more it's adopted, the more it's traded, the more it embraces the network effect, the scarcer it gets? This is what you call scarce. The supply is shrinking, literally, right? So this is another thing, community, that we are tackling in terms of inflation. Now, inefficient or unsustainable staking distributions. This is exactly another thing. You need to incentivize the community, and you incentivize them for putting their tokens at stake, right? By staking. Why is staking important? First of all, we are using the blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, which is on a proof of stake network consensus. So that means that staking brings stability. It stabilizes the ecosystem, stabilizes the token, the cryptocurrency, that stabilizes the ecosystem, which is very important for one. Secondly, its stability brings security as well. The more tokens are staked, the more secure the network is, the ecosystem is, the more stable it is. So in order to incentivize these individuals for doing so, we have a way to use our volume efficiently. So just by using our volume efficiently, meaning the more trades we get, the more liquid our ecosystem becomes, the scarce the supply gets, and the more USDC distributions that we see, right? And another thing I want to show the community also is that you see the largest wallet here, the number 1 wallet. This is the staked amount, right? And we've staked over 70%, almost 71% of the whole supply is literally staked. And this is a smart contract. This is the staking contract, as you see here. It's a smart contract. It's the staking contract. And it accumulates USDC, like you see here, right? So far it's over 5,000, it accumulates USDC. Soon we'll be unleashing them, enabling them so the staking can start taking place, right? So the community that stakes will start generating, receiving USDC distributions. This is so efficient, this is so sustainable, because all of this is based on volume, right? All of this is received through by having steady volume. So as long as there's volume coming in, there'll be USDC distributions, there'll be burnings happening, and there'll be liquidity retention as well. So this is how you, it's a win-win-win for the holder, for the staker, and the trader. And this is exactly what's needed, community. This is how we are addressing the 4 challenges, and this is how our ecosystem is built to literally tackle and make the most out of this liquidity cycle that we're about to experience, community, right? So in order to be part of the agenda, stick with the program, we need to address these 4 challenges so we can make the most out of the liquidity rush that is coming. So we'll retain the most. We'll have, and if you have, the more liquidity you have, the more volume you have. The more volume you have, the more liquidity you retain. The more liquidity you retain, the more traders you attract. The more traders you attract, the more volume, the more you burn, the more USDC, and now you create this flywheel effect. And once you're in that motion, once you have that rhythm going on, it's near unstoppable. And we need this bull cycle, this liquidity rush to give us that boost so we get into that motion. And this is the reason why it's important to be part of this fast liquidity event that we're about to experience on Ethereum. So this is it for today, community. Let me share my screen back again, if you bear with me, so we can come to your comments. Let me come back to you here, if you can bear with me. Okay. So like we say, today's session was crypto market uncertainties, right? We shouldn't be uncertain about things. This is why we have these sessions. This is exactly why we do these sessions, so that we bring clarity. We bring clarity to the community, so that we all can understand and appreciate what we have. When we see the markets bleeding like this, we understand the reason why. We can relate to the reason why. We see that it's just part of a bigger picture, part of an agenda, like we discussed again today, and like we've been discussing in the whole first week of this year. We see that this year is shifting from just a Bitcoin focus to really a crypto in general, blockchain technology focus, right? Because the industry will benefit more when Ethereum starts pumping. Because why? 77% of all the stable coins, real world assets, tokenized assets, and all these institutions that are getting ready to build this infrastructure to fulfill the agenda of the World Economic Forum, which is to strengthen the dollar, strengthen the bond market using smart contracts. Why? To enhance and improve liquidity. For what? For the derivatives market. Using what? Tokenized assets as collateral. Through what? BlackRock's Beetle token and other liquidity funds from Ondo and Render and all these other stablecoin issuers that are working together to fulfill the World Economic Forum's agenda. And because of that, if you strengthen the bond market and the dollar, of course, Bitcoin and other risk assets are going to drop. But the beautiful thing with Ethereum, it is not just an asset, it's a technology that all of this is being built on top. So do we really realize the impact that we're about to experience? This is why we do these sessions, community, to just for us to be informed, educated, and mission driven. So we understand what's coming, where we are, where we're headed, right? So this is it, community, on my side. Let me go through your comments and to see how we can go through this. I hope today's session really clarified a lot of things and is giving us a better understanding of why the markets are behaving so irrational and emotional as it is today. So we have Queen Aloshi saying, hello, Bulrun family. This topic is very appropriate for the current eventualities in the crypto market. I am glad to have these lessons. They always leave me confident, irrespective of the market swings. This is beautifully said, Queen Aloshi. You know, we can be very emotional if we don't understand why certain things happen. Why is the market behaving like this? So this is why we really always encourage the community to participate in these community events, because we always want to go with the latest current events, shed light, make more sense out of things, not just run with the headlines, but really analyze it, understand it, shed some light, make it make sense, right? So we can all be on the same page, especially how we've been discussing about the Bitcoin reserve, right, strategy, and how it will make. We remember how we had dedicated a whole session. We made 2 scenarios, right, of which one would be more fitting aspect. And now today we wake up in the morning and the first thing you hear is that the US that was supposed to build and pile up even more Bitcoin are getting ready to let loose of roughly 70,000 of it. And this sets a real motion to the economy. And this is why all of these things are now starting to take place. So I'm glad. Thank you for your feedback, Queen Aloshi. And I hope that you benefited from today's session. We have Queen Maria. Good evening, King Steve. And Mama, I look forward to great teachings today. We are pleased, very happy to have you here with us, Queen Maria. I hope you benefited, or it benefited you rather, that you participated today. Queen Lati says, greetings, Bulrun family. Another exciting moment to listen to the King, Steve, as he unpacks what he knows best. Crypto now the way, crypto not the way to go. Crypto now the way to go. Thank you so much for your feedback, Queen Lati. It's always a pleasure seeing you in the community. We are glad to have you here with us today. We appreciate your feedback. My great brother Abdullahi says, warm greetings, Bulrun family. Amidst crypto market uncertainties, stay focused on fundamentals, long-term vision, and community strength. Stay informed, vigilant, and bullish. There's really nothing more to add. I mean, this is on point, brother Abdullahi. You said it very beautifully. There's really nothing more to add here. It's really straightforward, and it's really touching all the points, and it's literally summarizing the whole session today. Literally, right? It's literally summarizing the whole session. You're very much appreciated, Bullrun analyst. That's just your that's your title now. That's what you are, great brother Abdullahi. We appreciate you very, very much. We have Queen Mel here as well. I'm for today. We're always pleased to see you in the community, Queen Mel. Hope you and yours are doing great and that your year has started well. Brother, waiting. This is great to have you here. I hope that it was worth your wait. It's always a pleasure seeing you in the community, Brother Ernest. We have Queen Gloria here as well. Don't want to miss free education from my mentor, Steve. Viva BRL ecosystem. We are pleased to have you here with us, Queen Gloria. It's always a pleasure seeing you consistently participating in these community events. You're very, very much appreciated. We have Queen Debbie here as well. Compliments of the session community. Thank you very much, Queen Deborah, for all your inputs, your leadership during these weekly events on Fridays and on Sundays, taking lead and participating and just adding your qualities, your leadership, your coordinations, and how you engage and interact with the queens. You're very much appreciated as well. Queen Patricia says, hello, Bulrun family. We are more than privileged and excited to be educated, informed. We are thrilled to hear that. Very glad to hear that, Queen Pat. Education, information is key for us to embrace and understand what our purpose is, our mission is, and it also encourages us individually to participate and chip in whatever qualities that we have and add value that way to the ecosystem. So thank you very much, Queen Patricia. We have Queen Emily here as well. I'm tuned in for the educative teachings. We are very pleased and happy to have you here as well, Queen Emily. Always a pleasure seeing you consistently showing up in these community events. You are very, very much appreciated. We have Queen Alice here as well. Greetings, Queen Alice. Greetings, our Dev King Steve, our dear Queen and family, MBRL family. Greetings back to you as well, Queen Alice. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. Always a pleasure seeing you in the community. We appreciate your leadership and we appreciate your consistency within these events as well. Queen Esther says, hello, Bulrun family. Greetings to our Queen Mother Wino, King Steve, and Bulrun family. It's a privilege to be here once more. It's a privilege having you here with us as well, Queen Esther. Your consistency is very much appreciated. Your leadership is also very much appreciated. We are glad and pleased to have you here with us in the community. Greetings, our Dev King Steve, our Queen, and Bulrun family. Happy to be here. Very excited and expectant. Blessings and much love to you all. Same right back to you, Queen Alice. You're very, very much appreciated. Thank you for participating and always being consistent in these community events as well. Queen D says, greetings to Dev Steve, Queen Mama Wino, and Bulrun family. Looking forward to today's topic. I believe it will shed some light on the current token price drops and guide on how to handle the situation. Beautifully said. I hope this session really shed light and really brought more understanding in the situation we're going through right now. So if that's the case, we're very pleased to hear that, Queen D. We have Queen Val. Hello, Mr. Steve. She says, happy Thursday. Glad to see you all bull runners tuned in. Make sure you click on the like button. Thank you very much, Queen Val, for reminding us all to engage with today's video. It's very important to push the narrative, push the message out there to as many people as possible. It's not going to happen by itself. We need to engage by at least liking, commenting, and the more engagement this video gets, the farther it will go and reach as many people as possible. Thank you very much, Queen Val, for reminding us to do so and interact with today's tweet right after we finish. We also have Queen Patricia says, good evening, community. Good evening, Steve. Sorry about the cold. Wish you a speedy recovery and thank you for coming to share irrespective. Stay protected always. Thank you so much, Queen Patricia. Very, very much appreciated. We appreciate your well wishes. You are very much appreciated as well for your leadership, your consistency. We can't thank you enough for what you're putting into the community and what you're bringing into the community as well. Queen Val has kindly laid the links for Telegram links. So all the new members, feel free to join the Telegram groups. Like we say, this is the bull run. We have the survivor and killer whale here as well. So feel free to join our community. We are very, very active. We are a very active community. So feel free and ensure that you participate in our community event, as we are very, very active, like we see on YouTube, on Twitter, and of course also on Telegram. Thank you for the links, Queen Val. Very, very much appreciated. Queen Mel says, happy Thursday, family. Greetings to our developers. Happy to be here another Thursday of learning. We are very pleased to have you here with us, Queen Mel. Always a pleasure seeing you in the community. None other than Queen Mother Wino herself. It's always a pleasure. She says, greetings to our amazing queens and kings. There is no force more powerful than a united, committed, consistent, and determined community. Success is the only option. Thanks, Steve, for all you do. This is another beautiful statement, Mom. Beautifully said. There's really nothing more I can add to this. I'd like to let it stand out like this. It really speaks for itself. And this is exactly what we are. We are a force, a powerful force, right? We are united. We are committed. We are consistent. We are determined. These are the adjectives that literally describe us as a community. And thank you so much, Mom, for sharing this with us. You're very, very much appreciated for your consistency, your leadership by example, and the love you have for the community. We appreciate you very, very, very much. Queen Viola says, greetings, kings and queens. Another exciting sessions. Thanks to our brother Steve for your commitment. We thank you also for your commitment by constantly and consistently showing up regularly, participating in these events, and also being very active on social platforms, social media. So you're also very, very much appreciated. We have my brother James says, great session. I'm glad that it's something that benefited you, there's something you can take away from today's session. And like we always encourage the community, don't use these sessions as a point of reference, right? Use it as a point of reference. We have over 300 videos on YouTube, recordings on Twitter Spaces, even on VCs. We have so many recordings on various topics, and we owe it to ourselves as crypto enthusiasts to be very informed, very educated, and so that we are purpose driven. And there is absolutely no excuse, at least in our ecosystem, in our community, to not be informed and educated, because we have weekly sessions. We have over 300 recorded sessions and so much information and research put in all those videos. So it's up to us to catch up on them, listen to them, and be a very informed community. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the session, Brother James. We have my great brother Theo says, greetings, my great brother Steve, dearest Queen Mom Awino, and my awesome BRL family. Greetings right back to you too, great brother Theo. He says, this session is fire. Thank you for always breaking down everything going on in the market. So even a novice like myself We all know that's not the truth. You're a veteran. You've been around. Can easily understand. Thanks again for everything. Salute, General. Salute back to you too, my great brother Theo. Always a pleasure seeing you within the community. We appreciate your feedback as well. Queen Louisa says, good evening, Brother Steve, Mom, and Bulrun community. It is a blessing to be in this community. You're a blessing to us as well, Queen Louisa, and we are happy to have you within the community as well. We appreciate your feedback, your commitment, your consistency just as much. We have Queen Grace says, it's yet another day to learn more from our dev Steve. Your vast knowledge in crypto space amazes me, always educating, informing, and inspiring us. We have become a strong community. BRL to the moon. Countdown liftoff. You are also very, very much appreciated, Queen Grace. Your leadership, your consistency. You are very, very much appreciated. Your presence to the community means a lot, and we want you to always know that as well. I'm glad that you participated today, and also that this session benefited you as well. Queen Sarah says, good evening, Bulrun community, Mama and Brother Steve. Another exciting moment to be informed, educated, and inspired from our coach, Brother Steve. I'm glad that you are able to take away something from today's session as well. Brother James says, enjoying the session. It's amazing. Thank you for your feedback, Brother James. I'm glad that it's something that you can benefit from. And this is the whole idea, it's the whole purpose, is that we grow together. We are empowered and informed and educated, right? And purpose driven as well. Queen Mother Caroline says, Steve, you are an asset to this community. Thank you so much for inspiring, informing, and educating us. Your well wishes and warm words are very much appreciated. Queen Mother Caroline, you're very much loved and appreciated as well. I hope you feel better. You're doing good. And thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your leadership, your guidance. Thank you for all your inputs that you put in. Thank you for your consistency. Even if you're not feeling well, you always show up. You're always encouraging. You're always uplifting. So thank you so much as well. Always a pleasure seeing you in the community. Queen Rosemary says, unbeatable token, proud to be part of this community. Thanks, Mr. Steve, Mom, for giving the most encouraging information. Your inspiring words keeps us confident, more and more strong. I'm glad that you're able to take away something from today, Queen Rosemary. It's a pleasure having you in the community as well. It's always a pleasure seeing you here as well. Queen Rose says, what an amazing education. I'm glad that it's something that you can benefit from. That's the whole idea. That's the whole purpose. Thank you for your feedback, Queen Rose. Always a pleasure seeing you in the community as well. Queen Alice says, wow, we are set, excited, and very expectant, waiting for the right time. Thank you so much, Queen Alice, for another feedback. You're also very, very much appreciated for all your feedbacks and your participation. Now, no other than my great brother N2B2. Hello, community. Great session as always. This shows that we are in the right place at the right time. The writing is on the wall. You just have to take the time to read it. Thank you, Steve. There's really nothing more to add to this. This is straight on point. Well said, brother N2B2. I also want to use the opportunity to thank you as well for all your inputs, all your efforts. You're putting out some serious educational information out there on Twitter. Very, very much appreciated. Community, let's always rally behind these massive tweets. Lately, I saw your thread that you put out there. Very informative. You put in a lot of effort, a lot of work to make these tweets. You're very much appreciated, brother N2B2. Always, always know that. We appreciate your input, your consistency as well. Queen Jane says, tuned in. Thanks, our King Steve. Very educative, and we have that confidence to move on. I'm glad to hear that, Queen Jane. Thank you very much for your feedback. We are always pleased and thrilled to see you in the community. We appreciate your consistency, your leadership as well. Regularly showing up in these community events. Glad it benefited you. My great Uncle George, Glad, always a pleasure seeing you, Uncle George, in the community. He says, hello, community. The lesson today has been very and encouraging. The Bulrun is around the corner, so let's be encouraged and patient. Well said, Uncle George. Well said. It's easier, much easier to be encouraged and patient if we know what's happening, right? We want to be in the know. And if we're informed and educated about the macroeconomic aspects and what's taking place, what's the agenda, right? And we see clearly everything literally taking place in front of our eyes, right? And we can relate to what's happening. We can verify. We can go to the World Economic Forum website, read out their agenda, and then cross-reference and verify and see that they're collaborating together, working on various aspects from infrastructure, from automation through smart contracts. They have a purpose, and the purpose is to bring liquidity, improve liquidity on the blockchain. And they're doing that by tokenizing assets through real-world assets, mainly by strengthening the dollar and the bond market. How? By using these tokenized assets as collateral through the banks, because now we understand that banks are central banks and commercial banks are the top 3 buyers of bonds of US treasuries, right? And if the banking system is healthy, the economy is going to be healthy as well, right? So all of these things are working together for our best, in our best interest, and we understand all of that, everything falling right in line for us. And so well said, Uncle George. We appreciate your feedback as well. My brother Marcelo says, thank you, Steve, for the updates and informative session. Thank you as well for your commitment, your consistency, and all the input that you put in and the value that you add as well. Very, very much appreciated. Brother Ian says, I'm very proud for you hosting the channel. I really appreciate, and I am ready to be educated on these things. Very, very much appreciated, Brother Ian. I hope that you are able to benefit from today's session as well. Queen Rose says, wow, what's an amazing education. Glad that it benefited you and that you are able to take away something from it. Queen Esther says, amazing, amazing. Glad I was here together again. Glad to see you here as well, Queen Esther. You're very much appreciated. Community, this has been an amazing experience. This is the 2nd week of the year, and it's just beautiful to see how things are unfolding right in front of us. These sessions are very, very important for us to be on top of the news, carry along with the current events, for us to see the big picture. We're not moved by prices, but we are moved by the fundamentals that we have. We are moved by the solutions we add to the challenges we face within the industry. And these are the things that moves us forward. Step by step, we see that at the end of the day, all these hypes and all these unsustainable practices that we see currently in the space, it's normal. It happens during the internet.com bubble. It happened during the housing bubble. It happened during, it's happening even now. So this is all part of a new industry. We always see, all types of things popping up. But at the end of the day, in the long run, what will count and what will move us forward and make us successful are the fundamentals, because they'll always outlive hypes and seasonal activities, right? So let's always bear that in mind, community. We're at the right place at the right time, like N2B2 said. And we are also understanding that we work together as a unit, like Queen Mother Wino said, right? We are determined, we are committed, we are focused, and we are a unit, right? We work together as a community. So I want to thank everybody that participated today, took their time to be part of this session. Very, very much appreciated. Like Queen Val said, encouraged us. Let's ensure that we engage with this session today so that it can reach as many people as possible. That's the whole idea. That's the whole purpose. We want to grow. And for us to grow, we need to be engaged, right? Just the same way we are engaging very, very well on Twitter. Let's do the same on YouTube as well and push this video to reach as many people as possible. With that said, community, I want to take the opportunity to thank the queens, thank the kings for all the contributions, your consistency. We are an amazing community that is growing steadily and organically, and beautiful things are coming our way. We only know the only option, like Queen Mother said, the only option is success. We don't know anything else because we put in the effort. We understand our purpose, our mission. We understand the challenges in the industry. We embrace that we have the solutions to them. We have the two items that we cover to make DeFi work. First of all, we're on the right platform. We're on the right blockchain. Secondly, we also understand that we have the community that is informed, that is educated, that is mission driven. And we have the platform that is addressing the four challenges. This is the only way that you can make DeFi work. There is no way around it. And that's also the only way we can benefit from all this liquidity rush that is about to come, regardless of the market's sentiment and emotional tendencies. With that said, community, I want to wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And till we meet again latest by Saturday, stay focused, stay healthy, stay blessed. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for participating.